Well, hello everyone. Your show right here is talk about for advertisements right here, and you see right here is I want to put together right here is a drawing right here of me on a telephone, and I'm sure most of us can remember that doing this a lot back whenever they were young. That be on a telephone and sometimes maybe calling a friend of yours that you know from school, or maybe if it's a maybe talking to your parents, or maybe that anything else that you would be on the telephone for. And the way I drew this sketch right here is talk about having a telephone, of course, in the bedroom. How many of us really want to have a telephone in our own bedroom, especially that besides having our own line, that we would want to go ahead and have a telephone where we can pick up the phone, anytime we wanted to, and be able to talk, and whenever the phone rang, and then you'll be able to answer it from your bedroom, stuff like that. But this right here, like, it's supposed to be like an advertisement right here, and I know for based on what I'm studying so far as computer skills is talking about advertisements, and I know most advertisements though. That I'm sure that we all have seen them, and we weren't. I wonder why that the details are not really advertised clearly, because I see advertisements almost all the time, but sometimes it seems like it's not. It seems like it's not 100% guaranteed for exactly about how it works, and we might see a lot of advertisements about taxes and maybe car sales or some sort. But still, though, that there is a lot more to it than what they advertise, and sometimes you do wonder to where that why is it that some advertisements that the advertisements mention about the hours, please come in between these times and on this day, and sign up today or something like that. So you see advertisements almost all the time. But I do wonder too. That why is it that some of these advertisements don't say anything like, for more details, please, please call today for more details, or please come by the office for more details, or please turn to page number 2 or 3 for details. So it may seem like a file cabinet, yet if anybody wanted to where that how to explain about how the program or how the offer works, and it's like, say that nobody really wants to think about it as a file cabinet, so make the advertisement short for about maybe 30 seconds, is to go ahead and say that, hey, it's free, you got nothing to lose, hey, that you're qualified, or so yeah, you see a lot of advertisements for car insurance. You hear about them on the radio too. So talk about advertisements though. But half the time, it seems like that out of that 30 seconds, that people say stuff like, just pick up the phone and do it. Or, just sign up today. Do it, sign up today. It's free, guaranteed, for you, guaranteed for you. You have nothing to lose, so they're going to say something like that. These advertisements are going to say something like that. Especially the car dealerships. If we're talking about credit card companies and other companies that they're trying to they're putting up advertisements just to get the marketing solutions going, and so yeah, so I would probably say that whenever I was much younger than the age of 22, than 18 and maybe 17, I would pick up the telephone and call a number that I seen on television, and I think one of those was related to a car lot around town. I think, see, where was that car lot? But the one, I'm sure, I don't know if anybody knows the kind of commercial I'm talking about that had the Lassie dog on there. But, still, try to remember the name of these car lots, and, insurance companies, in between, I think in between St. Peter's and St. Louis where they were, but parts of Missouri, but still, looking at those, seeing those, commercials on television, and so a lot of times it was like, pick up the phone and call, and so I'm sure most of us back when we were a kid, that you knew where the phone was, and you would go ahead and dial the number and call, but still, most advertisements would only take about maybe 30 seconds really to provide the number, or call the number that you see on there on your screen, anything that the number is going to say. But still, though, I really just think though that 15, 20 seconds of your time is really about, so yeah, you're talking about maybe hundreds to maybe thousands of callers that are going to be calling and to get information. But still, that if I could create my own advertisement, I would maybe think as to where that, yeah, exactly about what you think they would say. But still, that I also want to tell anybody here that the way I do this sketch right here is if I were to be on the telephone and with this telephone call that if I were to be calling and it could be related to something important. And so now it's like, I'm on the phone and even checking emails if it's from the school, but the school or maybe that something important too. And sometimes that if anybody warns that you kind of feel like you're maybe like in the spotlight, to where a lot of times that they begin whenever you got a phone call that the conversation begins by saying that this call may be monitored or recorded. You're on a recorded line, and so it is going to be something. Most of the time, it's to me, it's something important. And sometimes, though, that whenever I'm on the phone, even if it's for a job interview, and you say that you'll be flexible with them about this company's going to be going over your resume and then going over your paperwork, wherever that they need to collect, and other source of information that they got to collect. And so you're like one or two where that exactly about what your impression is. And so I may say that your impression to where that you don't have no socks or shoes on, and maybe if you're still in your pajamas or something, or maybe that you were doing heavy work that morning. I'm like the jobs that you could do back whenever you were younger. And I could probably tell anybody too that besides washing the car or maybe sweeping the floors or vacuuming, that the jobs that you could do back whenever you were younger. And one of those could be is to where that whenever the phone rang and then you would pick it up and want to know about who's calling. But still that your memories are going to go on and on. But I tell you one thing though, to talk about for advertisements though, what sounds more like Matthew? He's going to go ahead and if he's going to create an advertisement, and I'm going to go ahead and create an advertisement and exactly about what it's going to say. But I was also thinking too that whenever we check our mail, whenever I check my mail, that I also see all kinds of advertisements. But not too many of those advertisements are going to say, call today for more details. This is what you got to do. I'm like, how many advertisements that should say for more details? Yeah, for more details. I don't know why that commercial advertisements don't say that very many times, at least for 5 seconds, for details, for more details, call this number, or for more details, please visit our website. For more details, respond to this text. So yeah, that they're going to say something like, and then I know how many of us back whenever we were young that's way of how they get your attention. We all want our source of attention, right? But still, that so far as the hard work and telephone, but I tell you one thing, that maybe 80% of everybody else that may say that you'll do all what you can just to get attention, and one of those sources of attention would be is to where that you're going to go ahead and put a certain charge maybe on a telephone bill just to get somebody's attention, or you're going to go ahead and maybe make about 3 or 4 flyers whenever it wasn't necessary to get the person's attention. That sounds, does that sound like me, or does that sound like somebody else? But I could probably say that what does sound a little bit more like me would be is to where I go ahead and draw a picture of what I'm thinking about, is to where me on a telephone right there. And if anybody say that that right there, it looks kind of like a picture, but it's something that never really happened. Were you really sitting there on a rocking chair on a telephone? And even if I say that if you were talking to grandma or grandpa, or maybe if you were talking to mom or dad, or if you were talking to somebody else, and you're like wanting to where that something to get their attention with, it's like Yeah, I got something to surprise you with. Yeah, I called the cooking that cooking school or something like. Yeah, they if you went and picked up the phone and got some information about the cooking school that somebody mentioned the other day about, or something like that, about lost and found car keys or anything like that. So yeah, the plumbing business, but I tell you one thing though, that I've seen a lot of advertisements, and I do also one or two that why is it that these advertisements that say stuff like, yeah, for details on the inside, but a lot of these advertisements that don't say for more details. But that all depends really too. But most of the advertisements, nearly 88% of the advertisements, usually say pick up the phone. Just pick up the phone and do it, and it's free. I'm like, no, but still that. So how many of us have really experienced that to where any advertisements that you see that companies are going to take 30 seconds to talk about the company and maybe the special deal for the holiday sale that's going on, or maybe any exclusive offers, sweepstake. You may have seen that on a TV guide. I remember I used to buy those TV guides a lot, and you've seen all kinds of advertisements on there, and the advertisements would mention something about buy stay updated with what's on television, buy a TV guide. And the TV guides that I used to buy, I know that they were only good for about maybe 11 days, so they're about $3 or $4 or something like that at the store. But whenever I would buy them, I can remember reading it, looking at to see what's going to be on television, and it's like, that a lot of those advertisements though, that it's like you see advertisements in the papers, and I do one or two. That why is it that some of these advertisements that don't say in just what you call 3 words, for more details, please call this number for more details. But still though, that for more details, I really think that would be helpful, because if anybody were wanted to word that that if that's all how it works, or no, you need to have an account to do this, or that something else, it could also be used to where you got to have good credit, just to be able to get approved, and you have to be a membership of the team or something like that, or you have to work, so something else that they're going to maybe tell you. But still though, that talking about, like, if anybody say that good to hear the voice right here. But this right here, it will be an example right here of me on the telephone right here. And if anybody wants us to where that's supposed to be you on the telephone right there. And sometimes that whenever whenever I'm on the phone, that phone call sometimes usually lasts for more than 10 or 15 minutes sometimes, especially if it's about something important. And so it seems like the feeling that you get usually whenever you're on the phone was something important, and it's like, you kind of had that nervous feeling to where that this person, like the operator. I remember that too, back when I was young, that I called the operator just to find a number to how to reach a friend or something like that, and that if you don't know the person's last thing, I'm like, that what town that they live in or anything like that, and then not much you can do. But I remember that. Since I was a kid, I probably say that I've only called the operator, and I guess you say that you can dial 0 just to reach the operator. But still that I really don't know nowadays with like the Skype and all this these mobile apps. I do one or two that if just like the 911 emergency service lines and other emergency service, local county service lines, that they're still all the same. But still, that whenever that if you're going to be on the phone, I can remember that I called the operator and just to try to see if I can get a number, to reach a friend, and then I think once or twice called the operator. But still, that you are connected to somebody, to an actual person, and then they direct you to a number to where if you ask for that person's name, and then they'll tell you that we'll go ahead and connect you, and if anybody would say especially at a payphone, if you're going to be on a payphone, and sometimes you would have to put more coins into the phone just to be able to keep the connection, keep the line connected. But I tell you one thing, though, that that phone directories it was, but there's a number of things of how we can describe, for advertisements and math. And then you have right here's the lamp right here. This was right here was the dresser. But how many times are we going to really see for more details on an advertisement? Because I think it would really help, because not everything on an advertisement is really going to explain everything. And I do one or two. Why is it that most advertisements don't explain everything? Because really, though, that there are a lot of things that we see on an advertisement. Here's this file cabinet. I included this file cabinet on here for a reason, mainly because that how many of us will maybe warrant where that if you were to have a job, since you were young, that going through a lot of paperwork was a lot of work too, and that that is what you call another source of job that you would have, and keeping everything organized and that working hard, and especially if anybody says how many of us are going to be working hard, even without no shoes and socks on. You get up one morning, maybe you're still in your pajamas, and you're going to go ahead and maybe go check up on the garden if you have a garden, if you have in the backyard or something like that, or in the front yard if you're going to check the mail and not even bother to put your shoes and socks on. Maybe not even bother to put a coat on, and then you're going to go ahead and go outside and check something. And say you don't even bother to fix it and to make any coffee or to make some toast. I'm like, eat breakfast. You don't bother to eat breakfast before you get busy with something. And you say that, you see advertisements and maybe in the paper. Like I say, on a Saturday morning, how many of us have gone through that experience? On a Saturday morning, you wake up and around 9-10 a.m., and then you're likely say is till you check the paper and you see an advertisement in there, and likely say that sign up today or something, to take 30 seconds, and they say but in the paper though that you can stare at it longer than 30 seconds. That's not really the point, is it? I'm like, well, a lot of these advertisements that you see on television that you usually they're on for about maybe 30 seconds, but any advertisements that you see in the paper. And I can say that I've seen about all the above back when I was younger too. But still, though, that there are advertisements that I get even by text messaging. But I also one or two that if there was any advertisements by email, I see those a lot of times too. And so you likely weren't to where that back whenever you were in school that you see an advertisement and you have a bad feeling like you're not supposed to be reading that because, just because, well, that's not your phone, that's not your computer, that's not your intercom. And I could, especially to the school, if you want to sing the Star Spangled Banner, whoever wanted to pick up the phone and just talk through, use it like a microphone if you want to sing the Star Spangled Banner and pick up the phone and just say, can you see, well, what are you doing with that? Put it down. So how many of us are going to say back whenever they were kids that, they want to go ahead and pick up the phone and sing the Star Spangled Banner or make an announcement to the class, just because, to get the class's attention, the stuff that kids do, stuff that we all do, it seems like the stuff that we all do just to get somebody's attention, I guess you're going to experiment and test around with a lot of things, and sometimes I guess people say that that's called playing around, but really, are you really learning anything about, if it's really considered to be a mistake, or if it's mainly about, hey, that, maybe that there was a reason to why you did that, but, still, that, you pick up the phone and sometimes it could be important or it could be, necessarily somebody asked you to to answer the phone. But still, that the phone is right next to me, and let's just say that if anybody say you hear the phone ring, and that you're likely warned to her that somebody asked you to answer the call, and it's like, well, you told me last time not to answer it, but anyway, but talk about for advertisements though. How many advertisements are going to say for more details? And maybe that this advertisement is going to maybe say something like, you might just be surprised, to be satisfied. I can guarantee that you'll be like the car lots commercials, that you'll be driving away all nice and shining, or something like that. Or maybe if it's a telephone, a wireless company advertisement or something like that. But really, though, that with most of these advertisements, that whenever you see them, I guess it's mainly about keeping you up to date, keeping you posted about what's going on during the year of if it's tax time or a certain weekend sale or something like that. But again, the games too. If there's like the Super Bowl game or something, but still, that this right here is a telephone right here, and I know I always wanted to where that whenever you're on the phone, whenever you're on the phone, and I know that I drew this like an analog phone right here. So it's like this, supposed to be me right here is back when I was very young on the phone. But, how many of us are going to maybe say you're going to have the grandparents, they're going to maybe still remember you, whenever you were on the phone at those couple of years ago, that you can remember that, you look so cute looking, you're holding that phone up to your ear and talking to your doctor or talking to the counselor or maybe talking to the principal at school. And likely say is like, well, what did you talk about? So, you'll be on the phone, and sometimes people are going to say, you look so cute. You're holding the phone like that. And so, that, you're on a recorder line. This call may be monitored or recorded for quality training purposes. And sometimes, though, that you're likely also wondering, too, that with that phone call, though, that whenever you're going to be on the phone, sometimes that you're likely wondering to where that, whenever you're on the phone, that maybe not every phone call is going to be very comfortable, because like whenever you're talking to a friend and compared to if you're going to be talking to a company that's wanting you to be more flexible with them and wanting to hire you, or maybe wanting you to get enrolled in maybe a certain insurance plan, and sometimes you want to kind of hesitate about that. And so anybody that may wonder to where that why is it that you are not flexible with them about the job or maybe about the insurance plan, but I if anybody wonder to where that you keep thinking that you got a bad feeling to where that that's not what you want to do, or that they're trying to trick you into doing something, but still that whenever you're on the phone, and sometimes whenever the phone rings, and if you're busy or, you don't know exactly who's calling, and, it could be a sales call or something, but still, that whenever I'm on the telephone, and a lot of times that looking at this telephone right here, it's like for paid, talk about for paid ads, 30 seconds, so talk about, for attention. So how many of us are going to maybe say about 80% of all kids are going to maybe say that, to get somebody's attention, that, I went ahead and pushed the button and I made the phone call, or, that emergency alert system or something like that. How many of us are going to maybe say that they called a number just because that it was that there was a storm coming, and you say, well, there was a storm coming, so I had to call that number to alert the county or something. So that there may be a number of reasons to why we do this, and why, but still that if I say, advertisements are mainly for keep them posted about what's going on at, around at the county and the community, and if anybody wonders as to where, while you were sleeping, that this is what's been going on, and I put a star right there just to say like the night sky. So if anybody wonders as to where that after you got off the phone, and then let's just say if you went out dozing off to sleep and want to know about what's been going on, since you've been sleeping, and so it seems like to where that within about maybe 5 or 8 hours or so from now, then chances are then you're going to maybe be getting updates, and so if anybody wonders as to where that exactly what exactly whenever you're sleeping, and at the time, it seems like to where that what has improved, and any results, any test results, or maybe experiments that you were working on, earlier from that during that week, that you were also wondering to worry about what how the results came out. And so it seems like to where that somebody like me would probably say that whenever you're going to be using a voice recorder, especially on the telephone, that whenever you hear your own voice, what does that really remind you of? I'm like, well, I'll tell you one thing, that since I was a kid, I want to speak through an intercom, so because it's like, not too many of the students or the teachers really want to hear what you wouldn't have had to say. Even sometimes whenever you write a paper, that not too many of the teachers or students or anybody would want to take time to read it, and if they did, it didn't make any sense. So you were like, at least speak through the intercom. And if we know intercom, though, I'm like an intercom, a device where anybody in the building, anybody in the school, would anybody in the store or anywhere in the factory would be able to hear your voice. Any announcements or anything like that that you had to talk about. And so it seems like that, picking up the phone just to be able to make a speech through an intercom. And so you're like Warren, to where that, you say you ask for a volunteer, or if it's all about to where that anybody who takes that reasonable responsibility into doing stuff like that about making the announcements. But you have right here is this drawing right here I put together right here of with me on the telephone right here, and like with any kids, that they're gonna maybe do it just so they can get attention, maybe just be helpful, but still they talk about for advertisements. And so yeah, that back those couple years ago, that you did stuff back those couple years ago, but in some ways you kind of also think about as to where I don't know if it's really considered to be immature, but mainly about the parents are going to maybe ask, well, what'd you do that for? You're not supposed to be on there. But still, though, that I really think, though, that for more details, that if anybody will be looking at this as like some source of advertisement, maybe over the phone, though, to where that a lot of the stuff that we have nowadays, whenever you're going to be on the telephone, that a telephone, I guess, is like if you want to call it like, if you want to, like a device, like a source of communication, to where that, the first time you use this, it was kind of like, that how many of us can really remember that, to where the first time that we used a telephone, we had to remember the number, Now, not all telephone devices nowadays require a number, and I can tell anybody here that quite a few of them require an account. Yep, in order to be, you can just, all you have to do is just sign into your account and you'll be able to make the phone call. Not all telephones nowadays require a telephone number. You could be signed on to like a Facebook account or to a Google account, and you'll be able to make a phone call that way. You don't even have to have a number. But back whenever those couple of years ago, that dialing the number, and back whenever I was about maybe 2 or 3 years old, that you had that source of skill to where you can just pick up the phone and call the number, and want to know about for more details, huh? But nowadays it seems like that have an account where you have to be a membership, or if anything, you have to be 18 or older just to be able to complete this call, or just to be able to go through the details. But I tell you one thing, though, that handling my own calls sometimes too, even if it's for a job, that sometimes, though, that if anybody say that for any sorts of job, going through your files and not necessarily thinking about as to what's being done while you're sleeping, and so far as operating, and so far as what to explain. But still, though, that any source of attention, but still, that if anybody wanted to, where that whenever you get on the phone with somebody, and then they're gonna maybe say that, do you have any shoes and socks on? Like, well, right now I don't. I didn't bother to put any on. I didn't bother to comb my hair or brush my teeth either. But still, though, that if anybody says that, they got their reasons. You're gonna have your reasons to why that you're not dressed and ready, to go out the door to go to a meeting or some sort. Go to a meeting, to attend a meeting. That the stuff that you don't know about, for the things that keep you busy. But that this right here, that if anybody warns, is that whenever you're going to be on the telephone, it seems like to where that holding the phone up to my ear right there, holding the phone up to your ear, and then being able to talk through it. And sometimes, though, that you're also wondering, too, that, why is it that it kind of reminds me a little bit about the special attention that somebody's given to you? And I say so far as the doctor, if the call is really related to talking to your doctor or the nurse about something. Hi, Matthew, how you doing today? Well, we will discuss with you about your results and as well as the tests that we ran. And so, that please come by our clinic. And whenever you're going to be talking to somebody, then they're able to get your information from there. But still reviewed your information, but still, for more details. And so as I talk about for advertisements, though, that whenever I think about the telephone, even back whenever I was young, that people say that well, it's good to hear your voice. It's good to hear your voice, young man, or something. So you hear about a lot of times that really that you don't really hear too much of that about. It's good to see your picture. Yeah, I don't hear very much of that. I don't really hear very much of good to see your picture. I mainly hear it's good to hear your voice. So good to see your handwriting. I don't hear that too much either. Good to see your picture. Good to see your handwriting. I do one or two that. Why is it that nobody really says anything about that? It's good to see your English writing or anything. A lot of times it's good to hear a voice. So I guess the voice, it's good to hear the voice. But this right here would be an example right here of my writing, even though if it's typed. But so if anybody say that whenever they know me very well, and then they're going to be looking at my name, like that right there, and want to know too that a name is not just a name. Just thinking about it as to where that that name right there is also what I call is like a little bit like a mascot. When people hear that name, they're not really going to think as to where that you remember that main that main Matthew character right there, that kiddo right there, like the blue jeans and blue shirt, and the pajamas, if you remember him, if you remember him talking to her about something. But anyway, but you got right there's my name, and then talk about for advertisements though. So if anybody say you work hard even for full-time or part-time jobs and want to know about the things that to keep you busy, and you see an advertisement, and you're also wondering too that exactly look into the file cabinet, and before you get to that file cabinet, you're going to be getting a phone call for more details, and please review. They'll send you a book up, but still that. Most of these advertisements, if they're going to take in about maybe 30 seconds just to get somebody's attention, that a lot of times that they're going to maybe say